Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Bernie here, and in today's video I will show you how I set up my GH6 to suit my filming style, and I hope you will find it helpful. Let's go! So I had the GH6 now for almost a week and I couldn't be happier. Although there are still some settings that I have to tweak to fit my workflow or suit my shooting style. And that's including these two dials or wheels right here. By default, this dial controls the shutter speed while this dial controls the aperture. The default setup does not work for me, so I will swap them. And why do I have to do this? It is because whenever I film, it's easier for me to control this wheel right here with my thumb versus controlling this one with my index finger. And the only thing that I have to change constantly is the ISO and aperture. For the ISO, I have no problems with the placement of the button, but for aperture, I have to swap and use the other dial. My GH5 and G9 are already set the same way, so I wanted to do the same with my GH6. Anyway, once I set the shutter speed, I rarely or I don't ever change it at all. Like for example, when I'm filming in 24p. So to achieve the correct shutter speed for 24p, it is supposed to be 48 and it's always double the frame rate. Although you can always break the rule, but in my case, I'm sticking with it since it works for me. So in the case of the GH cameras, they don't have 48 shutter speeds. Instead, the closest is 50. So I will select 50 for the 24p or 23.98p frame rate in this case. Next example is when filming in 60p. The shutter now will be 125 since there's no 120. This is to achieve smoother shots, most especially if you're going to slow down the footage later on in post. But on the GH5 and now on my GH6, you don't really have to select those numbers every time you film. So with the GH5 and GH6, there's this feature called shutter angle. Once it's set to 180 degrees, it will always double your shutter speed no matter what frame rate you select. It will automatically do it for you, and that's why once I have it set up, it'll be good to go. So to access the shutter angle, make sure that you're on manual mode. Actually, you can select whatever modes you use, but in my case, it's manual. And the next is to press the menu button and then select this red video camera icon. And once done, go to image quality 2 and then you will see SS/gain operation. Select it and here you will be presented with 3 choices. First is the SEC/ISO, which is 25 to 25,000 shutter speed, and the ISO here is just the ISO that will be displayed on the screen too. The next is the angle/ISO. This is the shutter angle and it's ranging from 11 degrees to 357 degrees. And finally, the SEC/dB, which is the same as the first one, and dB is for gain, by the way. So next thing to do is to choose this angle/ISO, and once selected, you can now choose 180 degrees and you will be set. Once selected, the purpose of this is to automatically give you the correct shutter speed, whatever frame rate you choose. Alright, now let's go back to the two dials of the GH6 that I was referring to earlier. So as I mentioned, we will swap the two, and to do this, you have to go to the menu and then press the setting wheel right here in blue and then select the third option, which is this dial icon right here, and it's called operation. So we'll select that and then go all the way to the bottom and you'll see dial set. Select that, and here we don't have to worry about other settings. We'll just need the first one, which is assign dial or the F/SS, and opposite that it says set 1. By default, it's set this way, and this dial controls the aperture and this dial controls the shutter as mentioned previously. So we'll go ahead and click it, and as you can see, there's this table, and since we are on manual mode, we will concentrate on this one. And as you can see, the F is set to be controlled by the top dial, whereas the lower dial controls the shutter speed and it says SS. So let's go ahead and scroll down to set 3 and select it, since set 2 is the same as set 1 when on manual mode. As you can see, this dial right here, which is the top, becomes the shutter speed, and then the lower dial is now the aperture control. We are done! Now, let's go back to the main screen, and as you can see, when I rotate this dial, this now controls the aperture, and the top dial now controls the shutter angle. So now it's been changed, and will now suit my workflow. Once you're done setting up the shutter angle, there's no need to touch it. Not unless, you're filming a movie or something and there's a need to change it once in a while. In my case, when filming weddings, I don't ever have to change it at all. Now, the last part would be to tape this dial with a gaff tape so I won't accidentally hit it. This one right here. So it's like you're disabling this dial and just permanently lock it in place once done setting up. So there you go, just sharing with you the GH6 dial settings. Please note though that it will still vary from person to person and some users don't mind the default settings at all. But for me, I find the aperture easier to select if it's programmed to this lower dial right here. So there you go. How about you? Do you have anything to share or any settings at all that you will tweak to make filming easier? Let me know in the comment section below and let's discuss. So that's about it for this video and I hope you find it helpful. If so, give it a like and don't you forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. And while you're at it, click that bell notification icon to be notified with more awesome videos. This is Bernie. See you in the next video. Goodbye for now.